Hey guys, I'm going to walk you through how to create a template layer and also understand what the difference is between a layer and what's known as isolation mode. So inside of Illustrator, so I'm not going to get into super detail about layers because we got into that in Photoshop, and honestly layers inside of Illustrator work very similar to the layers inside of Photoshop if you want my honest opinion. Um, I will say this. I don't use layers a ton in Illustrator unless I'm doing something really complex, okay? But for the sake of what we're doing here today, this is super simple, okay? So the reason I would want to go through and set up what's known as a template layer is I want to translate something that I drew by hand and bring that in as a image so that I can trace it and vectorize it inside of Illustrator and make it look really nice. So this is just an image that I found online, but it's a good representation of a sketch. I didn't have one with me at the moment, and didn't honestly have time to scan anything, so I just figured I'd grab something offline to show you guys this example. So in here, I want to take this sketch and I want to go through and lock this down so that whenever I go to draw, if I move this, it's not moving, right? So if I'm using the pen tool and I'm creating my shapes and I'm drawing, I don't know why you would want to do it this way, but you could. I'm drawing the shapes and we want it to be blue. You know, let's say I forget and I move this. Well, now I'm never going to get it back, and I didn't notice that I moved it. I'm never going to get it back to where it was without really having to try hard, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this layer, it's layer 1, and I'm going to double click it. Okay, there you go. Don't double click the name. You're going to get to rename it anyway. So I'm going to do template. And then after that, I'm going to check the box that says template, and notice it gets rid of, or grays out all these options, okay? It grays out the options of show, because it's definitely going to show the layer. It grays out the option of preview, because it'll preview the layer. It grays out the option of locking the layer, because it doesn't want to unlock ever. And it goes through and says, do not print this layer. So if I do all my illustration work and then go to print this and leave this layer in here by accident, it's not going to show up on a printer. And then dim images to 50%. Okay, notice how that got a little dimmer. You guys can see that. Oops. There we go. Now I can't draw on this layer, right? I'm using the pen tool. I can't do it, okay? So next I create a new layer, and I'm going to call this one artwork. And if you watched my demo on how to use the pen tool, then you saw me do this. Next, I can go through and actually start creating my logo, right? And as I'm creating my logo, notice I'm getting a lot of precision happening here now, right? Looking good, yeah? So none of this is going to show up, which is really nice. I could go through and create another layer for this shape if I wanted to, but they don't overlap, so therefore it really doesn't matter. Even if they did overlap, guys, it really doesn't matter. Let me show you an example of that. So I showed this to you guys earlier. This is an illustration that I did a while back. And this hasn't been cleaned up at all, guys. This is still extremely rough. But you can see there's a lot of little details in here. So I have not used the Pathfinder yet. But over here on the side, a couple of ways to know what isolation mode is if I double click on a shape, this will give me isolation mode and show me just the path that I'm highlighting right here, right? So if I double click on this little banana looking shape, or double click on the circle, it will give me just this, right? I can also exit back out to layer 1, and I can all the way back out, there we go. And I can pull layer 1 open with the caret next to it, and I can see each one of the shapes that's being used inside of this document, okay? So with that, you can go through and you can hide layers. I don't know why that one's not hiding right now. Oh, it's because it's on a copy up here. There you go. That's why it's disappearing. This was my rough outside in the artboard. So if I hide this, I can hide just that one layer inside the isolation mode, which will give me, the ability to do something behind it or around it. You can see where the halftones I was referring to in a previous document are there. But this, you got to be careful with this, guys, because if you forget to turn it back on, it is like a layer, right? These are layers right on top of each other. You can have layers nested inside of layers. So just be cautious with it. But this does give you the ability, if you're trying to grab something that's behind something else, you can turn that layer off and get to it and turn something back on. If you notice, the word penny is hidden behind here. So if I need to get to it, I don't have to go into outline mode to grab the word penny to bring it forward. I can just hide this layer and reach back there and grab it. All right, so that is how to create a template layer and how to access other objects in simulated layers known as isolation mode, and these nested layers that are inside of main layers. All right.